As we enter F1's car launch season for 2022, the excitement and anticipation is building for what will be Formula One's new era of racing cars. The 2022 F1 regulations will be some of the most drastic changes made to the cars in quite some time. There has been a lot of discussions about the new wings, the new floor, and the wheels, but there is one significant regulation change that has somewhat flown under the radar. Of all the technical regulation changes this year, the switch to E10 fuel will be one of the biggest transitions in the turbo-hybrid era. The change is so significant that it could affect the pecking order of engine dominance in Formula One if teams do not adjust accordingly. Before we break down what E10 fuel is and what the teams are saying about it, we'd like to welcome you all back to the Backmarkers F1 Show channel for our first video of 2022. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already done so you don't miss a single video ahead of the 2022 season. E10 fuel is a mixture that uses 90% traditional fossil fuels and 10% ethanol. The switch is part of the sport's commitment to being more environmentally friendly in the future. For a comparison, last year's cars ran on E5 fuel, which consisted of 5% ethanol and 95% fossil fuels. All four manufacturers have expressed concern, particularly in terms of combustion. The move to E10 was one of the main reasons why Red Bull were keen on retaining Honda's engineers for 2022. Testing on the new fuel started last July, with one unnamed engineer suggesting that it resulted in an initial loss of power between 60 and 80 kilowatts, which is equivalent to 80 to 110 horsepower. Since then, teams have been working hard to make back this deficit, but engineers are keeping a tight lip on how much power they've actually lost. It is estimated that the loss of power at this point is around 20 horsepower. Honda's power unit manager, Yasuaki Asagi, explains the benefits and challenges of E10 fuel by saying, quote, "When it comes to E10 fuel, the power and energy that it has with the same weight are reduced. That is the characteristic of alcohol fuel. On the other hand, the abnormal combustion, knocking, of the old fuel will be easier to control now. We are aiming for maximum efficiency, but with E10 fuel, the power of the engine will also decrease, and the amount of power generation will also decrease." On the Mercedes side of things, their power unit engineers have stated that there are, quote, "some areas of performance we're really happy with, and other areas where honestly we're less happy." The 2022 regulation changes are massive, as we are seeing a new look on almost every aspect of the car. As important as the wings, the floor, and other bodywork aspects of the car are, F1 teams are not underestimating the impact of the fuel mixture change. Mercedes power unit boss Huell Thomas says the amount of work undertaken to adopt to this change shouldn't go unnoticed. Quote, "The change this year to go into the E10 is probably the largest regulation change we've had since 2014, Thomas said. It was a sizable undertaking to make sure that we really developed that fuel. The number of candidates that we had, the single cylinder running, the V6 running, it shouldn't be underestimated how much work that took." Out of the Ferrari camp, we've heard a lot of rumors and speculation about the new engine and its capabilities. It was reported late last year that Ferrari, with help from its recently promoted innovation partner Shell, has already regained that reported loss of 20 horsepower for 2022. At this point of the preseason, we are still in the speculative stage where we are only getting small pieces of information here and there on how teams have developed their cars. The good news for us F1 fans is that we are only a few weeks away from the first test of the 2022 season, in which we'll get a better idea of how teams have adapted to 2022's challenges. This change in fuel mixtures for the season has flown under the radar somewhat, but the comments from the engine manufacturers underline just how important this element will be for this upcoming season. We'd like to thank you for watching today's video on the Backmarkers F1 Show channel. If you enjoyed watching it, leave us a like and a comment, and make sure to stay tuned for our social channels for more coverage on F1 2022's preseason.